Okay, welcome to my basic series. This is colouring in. So, as an art teacher, I often see a lot of colouring in done by kids. Usually, it looks something like this, and that sometimes it's not really very good. It's okay. It has its place if that's the effect you want, but I think often if people are trying to colour things in properly or carefully, that's not really what you're after. They're just trying to get it done as quickly as possible. If you're going to do things properly, then obviously you need to think carefully about how you're doing it. Number one, if you have any shape and you want to start colouring it in, the first thing you need to check is that your pencil's sharp enough. Now, when children sharpen pencils, or when anyone sharpens pencils, they like to get them really tight and really to a point. That's great, but the first thing that happens when you put the pencil tip down is it breaks and you lose, a millimetre, 2 millimetres off the end. So if you are sharpening your pencil, don't sharpen it all the way. Stop before you get to the very end. And that way you've got a nice rounded edge rather than a sharp edge. While your pencil is sharp, if you've got any corners or points, this is the time to start filling them in. What I always do is I start and I go around the outside of my shape very carefully, and I just make sure I've got a nice border. And this is obviously just to colour something in, one colour nice and red in this case. The reason I'm colouring in a border is because then I don't have to be as careful as I'm going around the edges when I'm filling it in. A lot of children just scribble it in and that's it. And the thing is that then it can spoil what they've done. So I've gone around the edges, nice and easy, and now I can start colouring it in. Now at the moment I'm going back and forth. Back and forth you always end up with a slight line because you can never apply the same amount of pressure in every stroke that you do. But back and forth is quite an easy sort of technique to do. Another technique you can use is called scumbling, which is where you go around in circles. It's quite handy for round edges and things like that. And you tend to get a bit more of an even coat or layer with that. But as you can see, you can see there's a slight difference here to there. Obviously, if you're doing this, you can start thinking about how much pressure you are applying, because it will make a difference to your line. If you press on hard, or you get a sharp edge, or if you just sharpen your pencil and you try it, you might get a really harsh line in there. So just be wary of that. You can apply different degrees of pressure. If you're happy with that and you like that, another thing you can do is you can then rub the surface and blend everything together slightly as well. It will happen, but depending on the quality of your pencils. Okay, so that's how you colour in a shape. There are other techniques you can use though. I talked about going back and forth, so back and forth is obviously going in a line like that, nice and easy. There's also cross-hatching, where you go one way and you can leave gaps in between if you want, but then you go the other way across it like that. And this can be quite good for sort of adding shade or different layers of colour. So that's cross-hatching. And the last, I've talked about scumbling, which is where you go round and round and round in little circles, nice for a good even colour. The final one is stippling, which is literally making lots and lots and lots of little dots. It is the thing that drives everyone nuts if you're in a classroom or at home and you've got someone going like this. So you don't have to do it from too high, but again, it's quite nice and quite a new technique. There you go. I hope that helps. That is colouring in 101.